Okay, we'll have to make it work on my phone. I apologize for that. Okay, so we have a very Jeffrey, can you just nod and tell me if you can hear me? Is this working? Yeah. Okay. We'll have to use old-fashioned technology back to pigeons and mobile phones. Okay, so we're at the bottom of Kuf Daled Omid Aleph, a very beautiful, a very nice little sugya. Oma Rav Yehuda, Oma Shmuel, Magofis Chovis She Niskasasa. Mutter Talta B'Shabbos. There's some Girsa issues with the Bach, exactly what the Girsa is. Tanya Namihochi, Magofash, and Niskasa, he Vishavra Mutter Talta B'Shabbos. So basically, a chovis has a plug that seals it, and if it is chopped up or broken, one is allowed to be metaltal it on Shabbos. Now, Rashi goes out of his way to explain that the correct way to pass the various members, the member of the Amoraim, Amor of Yehuda Shmuel, and the Brisa, is that it is the chovis which is broken, not the plug, not the magofa, not the magofes. Let's have a look at Rashi. Rashi says there's a number of times. Did everyone pick this up in Rashi? Sheniskasasa hachovis, magofa shalchovis, sheniskasasa hachovis. He hamagofa v'shavreya shalchovis nitonim b'Shabbos. Why? Because they can be used for covering something. So that's what Rashi says. Did anyone know what to make of this Rashi? Why this is what Rashi says? Well, what's going on over here? So Rashi is clarifying that it's the chovis that's so the correct way to read it is magofes chovis sheniskasta. The not that the magofes of the chovis is broken, but the chovis is broken. And similarly, magofes sheniskasta he v'shavei muta where the chovis is broken. But that doesn't seem an obvious way to translate the brisa. And what difference does it make? I mean, who cares if either of them is broken? I don't know if that's a scientific fact that a plug can't be useful if it's broken. And it doesn't seem, to me at least intuitively, the most obvious way of reading the Mishnah or the Brisa.
It's not a clear thought, it's a
Yes, so that's exactly right. I was a bit confused about this Rashi, and until I really hunted around, and eventually I found one of the Achronim signposted to this Piskei Rid. Unfortunately, I'm not able to learn every Piskei Rid in the Sugya. It's not one of the sort of the Rashban Ritz when they're showing that I commonly learn. But yeah, the Piskei Rid is I think going al derech Rashi. And I put it in bold because I want everyone to notice. The so the Magofa is not Muktza when it's Shlema because you can use it to cover a Chavis. Shivrei Chavis are Mutter because you can use them to cover. But Shivrei Magofa also. Why? Shamagofa lo hoist a kli lo kisakli. It was only a kisakli. V'dafka Shivrei Kelim or Shivrei Kelim. Shivrei Kelim are Matorim. Al Shivrei Kisar Kelim lo chashiv liyos nitonim. Ki makishu levadu kishu sholim. So I don't know exactly what the lomdus is. Chovis is a keli, and that's a shivrei kelim or mutter. Magofes is, as you said, is a secondary kelim. I don't know exactly how to define these terms. And magofes is not, when it's sholem, is not mukta. That means it's enough of a keli that when it's sholem, it's not mukta. But when it breaks, it's mukta. It doesn't have this quality of shivrei kelim, and therefore it's Muktza. That's what I saw in the Piskei Rid, and that's the biur of Rashi, why Rashi belabors the point that Yes, yeah, also a good point. Yes, yes. And for those online, Adam's making a very important point. So Adam's making a very important point for those online that this is remarkably similar to the Mishna of Kelim and Delossus Kelim. Yeah, and even your secondary point is not necessarily correct. Delossus can also be detached. We saw so. Either way, this is Rashi's. I think the Piscarid is the explanation of Rashi's Torah. Just to tighten the formulation a little bit, how to understand what Margofis is, what a Kisser Keli is. I think the when we talk about something as a Keli, there's two ways of it being a Keli. We can say intrinsically it's a Keli, or it's got the function of a Keli. So while the Margofa works, it's got the function of a Keli, so it's not Muktza. But when it loses that function, it now becomes Muktza because it no longer has that function. It isn't defined by its functionality; is not strong enough to define the whole thing. So a chovis is a keli. So it's your servant, it's your slave, as we've been saying all the way along. So it breaks. It's still omed for any ishtamshus you can squeeze out of it. The plug is not a keli, and therefore therefore the plug is not a KD, and therefore the plug is only a functionality of a KD, and therefore while it's got the function, it's got the function. As soon as it ceases to have the function, then it ceases to have the function. Yeah. You don't need for Hilchas Shabbos. You don't need to bake kibble. That's a svara in Tum and Tara. A pen is a perfectly viable kli. Yeah. But nonetheless, I think it's because it's a secondary kli. It doesn't. Its function is to serve another kli. But I think the lomdus of that is I don't exactly. I hope you can tell by my hesitant manner. I don't know exactly what I'm talking about here. I'm sort of got a vague intuition as far. I don't know exactly how to define it, but that seems to be the story over here. Yes.
Yeah, the use of covering it's only you can any junction, but hold that this different level talking about
Where do you see that in the previous sugya? Sorry, just explain to me.
it's like to be considered is only that with the combination of copper vessel that makes the thing essentially. But the actual copper vessel.
I hear. What was the Ritva talking about? Covering a vessel or covering other things like rake? Again, I may be misremembering. Did I feel become this picture as the hot in the houses by rake oitinufa? I think the Ritva stuff could talk about covering rake or tinuf, dirt and spit. Well, I may be wrong. Yeah. Is v'im toma imahai tama chashu v'nachman didei yama feel become this picture Rashi the chazal chasis by rake tinufei. V'im toma imahai tama chashu the ikala teres kli kolavan and serious. Shabbat to come this year says Kelim the chazi lahachi. It's out in the Yeshua Mishani Yachad das Mishai kli gomo. Chazal chazi chasis bezakli. Alafachi in tash bezek dai lasis bekli lachatchila. So he seems to say the contrary. These are coming from Shiur Kedi and the chazi to cover a kli, whereas the Tsurorius and Avonim are just enough to cover York and Tinuf. Okay, let me put your point on hold because I'm not sure we're using it the same way, and I don't want to. Well, let's take away afterwards. Again, for those online, Rafi is just suggesting that in the Ritva earlier. Let's put the point on hold and let's have a look whether your point is right or not. I'll either come back to it or not. Yeah. Okay, so that's either way. That's Rashi's. I think the Piskei is a good pshat in Rashi. And then I simply printed the run, the Miyuchas run, and the Ritva, who explicitly say not like that. They say, on the contrary, they say the very chiddush of Shmuel is that the Magofa, that there's a Torah's Kedi al HaMagofa, and therefore even the Shivrei Magofa would be the same. I don't really know again how to explain this machlokas. Rashi and Piskei on one hand, and the Run and the Ritva on the other hand. I just shared it with you because I want to share it with you because it's a machlokas about this point. But did anyone have anything profound to say on this, or any I don't have any hesp of what the argument is. The Run and the Ritva hold that a plug is a keli. It's serving human needs, so why shouldn't it be a keli? And Rashi and the Piskei say no, it's serving a second, and maybe in Josh's formulation, it's a secondary need. It's got it's got functionality, but it's not directly serving a need, and therefore there's not a keli. I don't really know what to make of all of that. I don't really understand why a plug is not serving human needs. I've got stuff to talk to my office. I don't want dust and flies to fall into the liquid. I don't want it to spill. Why is it a secondary human need? I don't even understand what that means. It's a secondary need. So I don't know what to make of all of this, but I'm showing you the maths of what they say. Rashi and the Piskei say it's got the functionality of a kli, but not a kli, and therefore if it breaks, it doesn't have that mind of a kli. And the Ritva and the one say no, on the contrary, the chiddush is it does have a Torah's kli. I don't know.
Number one, also cut a hole in it. You don't have a plug.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It seems to be an equal shutuf, a partner in the functionality of the chovis. You're correct. It is a secondary need. I mean, even without it, the chovis serves a purpose. It can still store things. So in a sense, it's a luxury. That's true. Because the chovis can still function without it. But I want my chovis plugged because I don't want it to spill. I don't want things to get in. As Adam said, why is it different to a delis of the keli? Pain vidal suseim. I don't know. I know nothing. I don't know. I don't really know. I don't have a proper answer to that. Oh, the maths of how it's different, because the first Mishnah seemed to tell us that it seemed to say that even Shivrei philosophers would be excuse me, Mishnah. That's the Mishnah of let's check that we're getting this right. Maybe not. Again, the Mishnah says Kol Kelim and Tonim Shabbos Shivrei Nitonin in Ma'im. That's the Mishnah on Kufchaf Dal, our Mishnah. And Kufchaf Beisum Beisum says Kol Kelim and Tonim Shabbos the same in Ma'im. Afal Pshin Spark of Shabbos. Okay, so maybe we're misreading it. So maybe that's good for what they're saying. That in the Sparku, if the Delas detaches but isn't broken, then it's still got its functionality. If it breaks, it would be different. I just have a feeling that we saw. Okay, good. Thank you, Josh. You've given us a bit of homework. Okay, so Dal Sisei and Imayim, is that different or is that good for the same point as this? Do we have a raya that Shivrei Delosus are not Muktza? We need to go back to the two reasons why I've gone rusty here. Time for Chazara, I both say, starting for me and perhaps for all of us. There were two svaras we saw why a Deles isn't Muktza, either because the Deles has an independent function or because you can put it back on the Keli. Those were the two svaras we saw as to why a Deles that's misparik, that separates from the Keli, isn't Muktza. What happens if the Deles breaks? It's not just misparik, it doesn't just detach, but it breaks. Maybe that's good for this Nizan over here. Okay, good point. So how this fits in with Dalsos, bit of homework for us to do also. So we have two pieces of homework. Excellent. Okay, let's carry on in just learning our way through the Gemara. The Gemara carries on and says, let's go back to the stuff that is on base, stuff that V'lo yispos mimeno sheva l'chasos ba es hakedi v'lismech ba kari amita. You shouldn't. Well, this verb is difficult to translate. You couldn't be sofer from it. A sheva, a broken shard, a broken piece, to cover with it a kedi or to lean on it, to rest a bed on it. So what does this mean? So Rashi translates it as lo yispos, lo yasake. Lahasib litosav beuktav b'Shabbos David kliva v'makabatish. So Rashi says you shouldn't smooth the shard in order to smooth it out, to make it usable as a lid or as a bed rest. That's how Rashi learns. I printed again the Rishonim who have different translations of this. The Piskei Arid that we saw before says Lo Yisbis Menashev Elachasos Bezkli V'Lismoich Karya Mita Pirish Hamora V'Lo Yisbis Lo Yisakin. The Mora, by the way, the teacher in the Piskei Arid is Rashi. That's the name he gives to Rashi. So the teacher told us that it's Lo Yisakin Hasibili Tosov. Ve'inirali the Otter Hal Asir Lashmin and Shli Yisakin Kli B'Shabbos Pshita. Is it coming to tell me that you can't be Yisakin Kli on Shabbos? But he translates it as chibur. So he translates it as chibur. And then he brings various examples in Shas where the word means chibur. So he says, Ali Chabim Menashev al Piakli, Lachasoso, Etachas Karyamita, Bekayam Agofa. And then he goes on to what we said before.
To stop on itself or on the ship, right? Or from the configuration that shouldn't adjust stop. Properly then.
So the Piskei Arid says that Mefurish this is going on the Magofa, it's going on the stopper.
I think you can't fix it to make it smooth.
Yes. And Rashi says that's how I understand. That's how I understood it. Yes. Yeah. That's how I understood it. And that's exactly explicitly how the Tosfos Rid explains it. The Piskei Arid, I'm sorry. So either way, the Piskei Arid learns that it's a Muktza halacha, and Rashi learns it's a makah b'patish halacha. Rashi says don't be makah b'patish, and the Bryce is just mentioning a completely side halacha that's got nothing to do with Muktza, but is mentioning don't fix the Shabbat, which would be a good solution to make it not Muktza, because you're making a Keli. The problem is you can't make Kelim on Shabbos. I printed here Rabbi Hananel and the Rif, who translates it as lo yachtach, don't cut. Excuse me, which is the opposite of the Piskei Arid, and not dissimilar, I suppose, to Rashi. Don't cut off it. Sorry, do you mind just getting a cup of water? Excuse me. Let me have a look at the point a minute. Just for those of us who are here while we learn Hilchos Brachos, why did I just not make a bracha on this cup of water? No. It's for four, yeah. Other foods that you have for if you have chicken soup because you've got a sore throat, you have to say a bracha because it's a food. But water, there's three levels, right? There's things which are purely medicinal that you don't make a bracha on. There's foods which even if you're having for medicinal reasons, it's a food. Chicken soup is chicken soup, and then there's water, which if you're having just to soothe your throat as a lubricant for your throat, is you don't make a bracha on it. I'm sorry, Adam, your point again. Apologies. Yes, I think that's shut. Yeah, that the magufa you're smoothing to make it more usable. And the halacha of the Mishna is not really a halacha in Hilchos Muktza. It's just we're talking about a useless magufa that you make into a keli, but halacha you can't make it into a keli on Shabbos. Yeah. I printed the Rambam because I just thought this is a nice example of Derech HaLimud. The Rambam in the end of Halacha Gimel, and this is source 4 on top page 2, he says Kli shenis roya. The flow of the Rambam is clear that this is our halacha. And then Louise Kelim and the Rambam say that. Magofis chavis shenis niskasa hiva Shivrei mutter l'taltala. Imzarkel ashbam b'yom asur l'taltala. That's the line in the Bryce we haven't yet read. And then he says Kli shenis roya lo yitlosh menu cheres nachasnis by lismach by. So that's our Gemara. It's going on a Kli which has become broken or weakened. Don't pluck off it a cheres to cover or to lean a bed on it. Now, the Rambam is, as is well known, part of the base medrash of the Rif and Rabbeinu Chananel. So he's translating the statement somewhat analogous to the Rif and Rabbeinu Chananel, and he's saying that it means lo yitlosh, don't break off a piece on it. My question is, though, in the Rambam, is the Rambam saying Halacha in Hilchos Muktza or Halacha in Hilchos a Melacha? So the Rambam wrote a very structured work, and even though in Gemara is an organic work in which halachas flow all over the place, and therefore sometimes you can have a halacha about a melacha in the same brisa as a halacha about Muktza, the Rambam's whole purpose in structuring his work was to avoid those sorts of situations. So if there's a memor in the Gemara which teaches me a halacha about the melacha of makeh b'patish or the melacha of nischatech or korea on Shabbos, the Rambam shouldn't have brought it here. He should have brought it in the appropriate melacha place. So I don't really know what to make of this Rambam. Is he saying a Muktza halacha here or a melacha halacha over here? The location in the Rambam, Max, are you with me? Yeah, the location in the Rambam is in Hilchos Muktza, but he seems to translate the memra as per the Rif and Rabbeinu Chananel in Hilchos Melacha. So I don't really know what to make of the Rambam. That's why I printed it here. I just thought it was an interesting Rambam. He's belonging to the base medrash of the Rif and Rabbeinu Chananel, so he's translating the Gemara like that. Translating the Gemara like that, but I don't really know what to how to actually understand the Rambam. Any Aros in this? Anyone got anywhere with this? I don't know. He says lo yitlosh. You could come up with this far in Hilchos Muktza then, since the only way to access it is through being Tolei Shef. It's not omid for that or something. But I don't really know where to go with this. Okay, let's move on. Vimzarka ba'ashba asa. Maskif la rapapa. We go over the page. And if you threw away a beged, it would also be asa. So Papa says, the Pshat is if you threw it away from Erev Shabbos. So this is a very, very unclear couple of lines in the Gemara. So the Gemara says that if you threw it away, it becomes Muktza. Okay, I can understand that because you threw it away. After a Papa, in that case, if you throw away a proper keli, a piece of garment, it should also become Muktza. So he says, no, we're talking where you threw it away before Shabbos. Okay, and if you threw it away before Shabbos, why don't we have the same question? If you threw away a garment before Shabbos, would that also become Muktza? So what's Rav Papa achieved, and what exactly is answered by talking about Erev Shabbos? So Tosfos deals with this question. He says, says Hashta Tosfos at the top of Kuf Chafei Amud Aleph, Hashta lo parich enomiata, Zorak liglimim b'yom. He doesn't ask enomiata Zorak liglimim b'yom if you threw away a garment b'yom. So given because the Keli wasn't muchan mibodyom, the Sheva wasn't muchan mibodyom, and that's why it's Muktza, whereas the Glima is muchan mibodyom. So the math of what Tosfos is saying is that the Glima, even if thrown away, would still be muchan mibodyom. So therefore, I can't ask on the Glima, the comparison's Glima, whereas the Klicheres wasn't muchan b'yom because I was megale, I threw it away, and therefore it does become Muktza. So I simply don't understand the maths of what Tosfos is saying. Again, Tosfos is the Gemara is shver. Rav Papa asks a strong question. Are you telling me that throwing things away makes them Muktza, even though they're still fundamentally usable? That's a chidush. Based on that, if I throw away garments, it should also become muktzah. We've never heard of such a thing. That you throw away garments and it becomes muktzah. Why should it become muktzah? Answers the Gemara. No, we're talking about where you threw it away from before Shabbos. Enochanami, if you throw something away on Shabbos, you can't make it muktzah. So you threw it away before Shabbos. And if you throw it away before Shabbos, you can make it muktzah. So if you throw away a garment before Shabbos, then it does become muktzah. So what's Rav Papa's answer over here? Okay, we're running out of time, so I'll just give you the headlines, and then on Sunday, Mr. when everyone learns, there's something to work through, and we'll start our shiur by dealing with this. The big question over here really is, there's two levels that the Gemara could be working on, and this is a subtlety we've avoided till now, but it's now time for us to deal with. Is one level it could be, we're saying this is a keli. Nonetheless, it's muktzah because I've been muktzah midas. I've distracted I've removed my desire to use it. I've put it in the bin. What could be more making a muktzah than that? It's a keli, but it's a keli in a bin. It's muktzah because I've removed it from muktzah midas. I've removed it from any intentionality of using it. Lumdus number two could be, if I throw it in the bin, I make it cease to be a keli. A keli is something dedicated to serving me. If I throw it in the bin, it becomes non-keli because I've discarded it. And my attempt in reading Tosfos is that this is what the sugya is playing with, is debating whether what's happening here is that it's the throwing away is ceasing to be a keli, or the throwing away is saying it is a keli, but it's a muktza keli. It's a keli that I have no intention of using. And I printed the language of the Shulchan Aruch about this, which I think is Meduyak one way, and we'll come back to that in Mitzvah Hashem on Sunday. You're throwing it away, it's away because it's rubbish, 100%. And you're throwing away your clothing because the clothing you don't want anymore. And so it's a jacket, but you're no longer interested in that jacket. It's worn out, it's whatever it is. So now the question is, what's pshat in the throwing away? What's the lomdas of throwing away? It could be either or both of these. It could be my throwing away saying it's not a keli, because for me it's a useless item. Or my throwing away could be, it is a keli, but it's not a keli that I want to have muchan, and therefore it's mukta. Which one of the two is what's going on over here? And I want to suggest that's where the argument around Rav Papa will revolve, and we'll have a look at that in Mitzvah Hashem. Okay, bits of homework. We need to go back to Talmud Kelim and find out if there's a raya that Shivrei Delosus is different, or actually that's what the Gemara is saying, that Shivrei Delosus is Muktza. That's good for what the Gemara is saying. Okay, shkoyach everyone. I'm sorry that it was a little hard for me to do this via the phone, but